Base is dropped on another edition of Soccer Down Here. It's a Tuesday. It's June 30th. We're taking your questions, your comments on lots of different stuff. There's been some developments in some of our conversations from yesterday. We'll get into that with you this morning. We'll get ready for NWSL Match Day number 2. Doubleheader at 12:30 this afternoon, and then at 10 tonight. We'll get you set for that. Huge match in Spain, Barcelona and Atletico Madrid this afternoon. Barca is in pretty close to a must-win situation, and they're playing a team that they've had a lot of success against over the last decade. Get into all the other news from around the world as well. But you guys can join the conversation a few different ways. You can watch on Twitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. You can send us questions there. You can tweet at us at soccerdownhere. You can send us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail. Let us know what's on your mind this morning. John seems to be having an existential crisis when it comes to breakfast food.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the deal. I mean, we all know about milk and expiration dates, and if you're a bachelor, expiration dates are obviously kind of arbitrary. And well, I mean, if milk or if whatever you're drinking starts to taste bad regardless of the expiration date, then you get rid of it, and only then.
Okay, I don't know what kind of theories you have here, John. I'm a little bit confused, but keep going.
Okay, so My question of the day just has to do with breakfast food. How far past the expiration date do we trust breakfast food? Because
what breakfast food are we talking about?
The little mini cherry Danish turnover kind of things that you purchase in mass quantities at grocery stores.
Okay.
That they make themselves. I mean, this is like homemade breakfast stuff that they put out there for sale.
So this is from the deli at the store.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is from the deli at the store, and it's the little mini Danish turnover things that are about an inch or an inch and a half long. Mm-hmm. And, it's the cherry Danish this time, and I was just trying to figure out.
A Danish and a turnover are two very different things. That's why I'm a little confused.
Well, I guess it's a Danish. I forget what they call it. It's on the. It looks like a shortened bear claw, basically, but it's got cherry Danish stuff in it. So I guess it's a cherry Danish.
I think it's more Danish than turnover, but keep going. This is good.
Okay, so we've passed the expiration date of this particular batch, and
by how much?
We're on day 2 after the expiration date.
Are you sure it's an expiration date, or is it a sell-by date?
Well, it's a sell-by date.
That's not an expiration date, first off.
Okay.
Because if you buy it on that day, it's not going to go bad that day necessarily. That's a sell-by date. But anyway, keep going.
No, just so, all right, so if it's a sell-by date or an expiration date or whatever, I treat them I don't treat them mutually exclusive. I don't treat them mutually exclusively, though.
Okay.
But how far, what kind of a gauge do I have if the sell-by date was the 28th? What is a good amount of time to sit there and eat something past that sell-by date? Is it a week? Is it until it tastes like I need to throw it away? Kind of like I said, like milk. It's just with milk, milk tastes awful. You throw the milk away. That's just how it is.
One question about milk, because you've caught me by surprise with your theories here.
I have.
Do you smell the milk before you pour it in the glass?
Oh, of course.
Okay. But if it smells bad, you're okay? You go by
taste?
No. Okay, that's you
no.
kept going to if it tastes bad, you throw it out. I'm like, I'm not letting it get to my mouth if it smells bad.
Oh, yeah, no. If it smells awful, then it goes straight into the sink.
All right, I was a little concerned there. All right.
No. I don't just pound something because...
I'm just following what you're saying, my friend. I'm just trying to follow along.
No, I don't pound bad badly smelling things, even if it's within the expiration time frame. No, but I was just trying to figure out this morning, do I have another 5 days of eating this particular breakfast food? Do I keep going? Do I go to the blueberry muffins that are next to it? I've got to figure out what I'm doing here.
Well, when was the last time you ate one, first off?
This morning.
Was it stale?
No, but a little chewy.
That's a pretty good sign that it's probably not all that good at this point. It's not that it's going to kill you or anything, I don't think. It's just going to get stale.
So what you're saying is if I get up in the middle of the show and have to leave for a segment, then that's a good indicator?
Well, no, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, for example, if you're eating I like cake donuts, for example.
I do too.
Glazed donuts are good from certain places, but I don't really like the glazed donuts at the store as much. I'll generally get the cake donuts, and they're cheap and they're easy, and I'll eat a couple in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, they don't last very long staying fresh because they'll get stale very easy. They get stale, they get a little bit hard, and they're just not as tasty.
Yeah, see, if it gets to hard, if a donut gets to the hard point, then you have two options. You either throw it away or you go with the microwave option and try to loosen it up a little bit and then try to eat it.
Try to loosen it up a little bit, eh?
To unharden it.
Okay, that's a theory.
You've never taken in your bachelor days where you're by yourself.
You're past your bachelor days and you're still doing this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not bachelor days.
I don't want to waste.
Don't put it on that.
I don't want to waste the food.
That's fine. You eat
so
it before
in days where you don't want to go shopping and you don't want to waste the food, don't you come up with alternative ways to keep the food and see if it's worth something like bread? Here's a life hack with bread. I don't know if you've tried this, but you wet a napkin in the sink.
You've told me this before. I've never done this.
Yeah, seriously. If you wet a napkin and you wrap the napkin around the bread that has been in if it's been in the fridge for a while, and you do it for 10 or 15 seconds, it loosens it up and it makes it edible again. I don't know how this happens, but that's those kind of a life hack things that I do.
Okay, that's good. Well, maybe you've
never life hacked a breakfast food before.
I don't think there's really much of a life hack here. It's stale or it's not stale. Like it's bad or it's good. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else you can do with your sherry Danish turnover, whatever it is.
What the hell it is? Yeah. The mini Danishes, I guess, is what they are. At some point later today, I'll go upstairs and look at their label and find out what it exactly is. Because if I'm calling it 9 different things, then
I'm confused.
About what?
I'm confused about what you're eating for breakfast and how you handle, restocking your kitchen.
Well, the boss usually restocks the kitchen, but I don't want inventory to go to waste.
You can't handle restocking the kitchen?
Well, she's the one that goes out and shops. It's like, okay, well, what do you want? And then I'll sit there and say, well, we eat muffins and Danishes. And so she goes and gets muffins and Danishes from the deli, and that's part of the shopping spree.
Okay. All right.
But
if anybody can help John out, please tweet at him, OSG Nelson.
Yeah, and also...
He needs life hacks for breakfast foods.
That have expiration dates or sell-by dates, and I'm concerned about the length of time after a sell-by date, about how long I should continue to have said food in-house before I throw it away or throw it to the birds.
What are you concerned about, actually, is where I'm confused.
Just after a sell-by date.
No. What are you concerned happening here? I mean, it's you're not going to get food poisoning from a pastry, because I would hope you're not going to eat it if it's got mold on it.
No, God,
okay.
No.
So if it's a little stale, you're not going to get food poisoning.
Okay.
Unless it's something that needs to be in the fridge that you're not putting in the fridge, which I don't even know what you're eating, so I have no idea.
It's the little cherry Danish thing, so I would imagine
You've said turnover and Danish, and you're using them interchangeably, and I'm confused. But you're not going to get sick from eating something that's a little stale. That's different.
All right.
It's not good. to eat
No.
that because it doesn't taste good.
And that's why I'm asking about how much lead time do I have here after a sell-by date? When you sit there and is it a week? Is it like milk where it's like
oh man, Tafka's got a good point here. John, you aren't in college anymore. If you have to ask, it's probably been too long. He is enjoying the John Goes Back to College version of OSG Nelson, though. Next week, you will go streaking in the quad.
Oh, no, you people don't want that.
No, nobody
wants that. I don't want that, and nobody else wants that. We're going streaking! No, you don't want that. And have Leah Remini pass by with her friends in the car and see Frank the Tank. You don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that.
Nope. Nobody wants anything to do with that. No.
That's a no. And then, of course, this morning, so before we came on the air, I forgot my glass, so I'm going to have to do it straight out of the 2-liter this morning.
You are the college version of yourself today. You're drinking out of 2 liters. You're wondering what your leeway is on sell-by dates and expiration dates. I mean, you're going to break out cold pizza here in a minute, and you'll be good to go.
Well, that was a couple days ago, actually.
There you go. All right. Well, have at it, John. Or Johnny, or whatever. I don't know.
Brah.
Pretty much. We got a lot of stuff to get into today. If you were not listening to the PM edition last night, we talked about the NWSL announcement of how they're going to handle the anthem going forward. I don't think they've solved anything. I don't think they've fixed anything here. I don't even know why they went down this road necessarily, because it doesn't do anything that was the issue to begin with. So now the anthem will be played, and players will have the option of being on the field or in their locker room. Okay. I don't know what it's going to look like today. I don't know if... and teams have been talking about this. Look, teams are preparing to play in a tournament. They're preparing to play with less training time than they're accustomed to, and they're getting ready to compete. And they're having to have team meetings about, okay, are we going to do this? Are we going to do this? Are we all going to do this? Are we okay if some people stand? Are we okay if some people kneel? Are we wanting everybody to do the same thing? What does this look like? That's the conversation right now, and that's a difficult conversation, I think, at any time, but it's a very difficult conversation now where, you are getting ready to compete in a tournament that is not a typical tournament, so you already have athletic stress on top of it. And this doesn't take that issue away from the players. If anything, it accentuates it, in my opinion. The smartest thing here to do, because you have no crowd. If you had a crowd, it's a different conversation, and maybe this would be the way to go. And maybe they're just trying to create a policy that they will stick with for good now. I don't know. But for this tournament, with no spectators, the anthem doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. And this just makes it more difficult, because now, when are they going to play it? Are they going to play it at the same time? So if you want to come out and warm up, go back to the locker room, sit in there until the anthem is over, then come out and get ready to play. Then you're changing some of the pregame routine, and you don't need to do that for these athletes either. Just don't play the thing right now, because it serves no purpose with no one in the stands.
I just think that you've created another problem when you could have just thrown a fairly simple solution out there. If you put the anthem, and we do this, for television, there are times where we will coordinate with the local folks at the host venue and sit there and say, okay, let's do the anthem 5 or 8 minutes before we even come on the air, and we can rearrange those kinds of things. But that's with an audience. That is for an on-air product, so the anthem is out of the way. It doesn't distract from what you're trying to do from 7:30 to 7:38. But in this case, there's no one in the stands. You have essential personnel and players standing for something. And I will continue to maintain every single time that this issue is brought up that you've added a distraction where you didn't need it, and you've created another problem instead of coming up with an easier solution for the whole thing.
My stance on it at this point is pretty simple. It's this: if you don't have spectators, you don't need to play the anthem. There's no purpose to it. If you have spectators, you do have to make a decision going forward. I'll be very curious to see how all the different leagues will be handling this, because I think you need to take it out of the match day presentation. If you feel like it needs to be played in the venue, play it 30 minutes before the kickoff. Play it after the teams go back into the locker rooms after warming up, but before they come back out. Play it, right after fans come in the building. I don't care, but it has nothing to do with the game presentation. It needs to, at a minimum, be removed from game presentation. It serves no purpose. So if you want to play it, if you want to play a different song, if you want to do some other kind of celebration, go for it. Just keep it away from the match day presentation, the game day presentation. That's where I'm at right now. It's not helping anything. It's creating more problems. It's not necessary. Why are we having something that's not necessary create more problems? And in this case, with nobody in the stands, the NWSL doesn't even have to be the one going out on a limb, because Major League Soccer already announced they're not going to play the anthem at their tournament behind closed doors. So you can follow that and say, if you want, following the precedent set, whatever you want to do, if you want to avoid pushback. And I'm sure that's part of this, because it's something that any company and people are, I think, maybe throwing NWSL under the bus a little bit unfairly here, saying, oh, sponsors, yeah, that's what. They have to follow sponsors. Well, yeah, they have to follow sponsors. And this is a tricky thing for a lot of people, a lot of businesses. Nobody wants to offend anybody, but you're trying to avoid offending people by doing this that is just not working. None of it's working. Nobody's gaining from it. In this tournament, it shouldn't be played. Going forward, that's going to be something to figure out. I don't think it should be part of a game day presentation. Who knows? We'll find out. I'll be curious to see what it looks like today, because I can guarantee you what will happen is, if players stay in the locker room, if some players stay in the locker room, not all, but some, then people are going to be playing detective and trying to figure out, well, who did this? Who did that? This is okay. This is not okay. That was disrespectful. This was disrespectful. It's almost like you have to do all or nothing between two teams that are large rosters and have all different opinions, because they're people. That's why you should play it when they're not out on the field to begin with.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see what it looks like, because if there's anybody who does something different from the majority of people, they're going to get singled out, and that's going to be the conversation, not the soccer. And for a soccer league that is in a position where it's the only team sport playing in the U.S., they sell soccer, we need to be talking about the soccer. And if you want to get into all of this, that's fine. But if you are covering this, I think you have to cover the soccer first. I think you have to. I think you owe it to the product to do that. I don't know. Maybe the people who are covering it in the way that they are feel like the audience wants the other part of it. And, the audience might not understand these teams yet. They might not know all the players yet. And that's on us to tell the stories. It's on the league. It's on the teams. It's also on the people who cover it. I think it's not fair to the athletes who are working hard in extreme circumstances to put on a good product to have all these distractions. It's not fair for the league to put the distractions out there for them. It's not fair for the distractions to be the story either. It's about the players. It's about the teams. It's about the game itself. And I'm looking forward to both of the games today. These are two really interesting games. The early game is the home team, Utah, and Houston. And Houston is a team that hasn't been very good lately. They're in the middle of a rebuild. They've got some players that I want to see how it comes together. But Utah has a player that I'm really excited to see from NC State, Ziara King, who's going to get an opportunity because of Kristen Press opting out of the tournament. Ziara King could be starting, according to the team's press conferences and media availability yesterday. Love to see new players break through, and I want to see this U.S. women's national team pool get deeper and have more options because, if the Olympics happens next year, that might be the end for a lot of players that we've seen for a long time. The World Cup is 23. That's a long way away. You've got to start having some new players come through and either push the veterans to stay on top or replace the veterans who can't stay on top anymore. Ziara King is one of those kinds of players who could really make a name for herself in this event. Also, Amy Rodriguez and Vera Boquet are two of the most talented players in this league. Amy Rodriguez is just an audacious forward who will try stuff and will blow your mind. Looking forward to seeing both of them try to build up a rookie in Ziara King and provide her opportunities. The nightcap is another one with some missing faces, but some opportunities for players. Sky Blue and OL Reign, no Carly Lloyd, no Mallory Pugh due to injury, no Megan Rapinoe due to opting out. But you have players to keep an eye on here. Alana Cook, the defender who's on loan from PSG, she's playing with OL Reign in this tournament. She has just started to break into the women's national team pool. On the Sky Blue side, a player we know well, McCall Zerboni, moves over there. She's going to be expected to provide a lot of leadership with a team that is missing its leader in Carly Lloyd. And you're looking at Midge Purse as a player who can make you forget about Mallory Pugh for this event. And Midge Purse is another one who has been on the verge of the women's national team. So 2 games, lots of storylines in them. Utah, Houston, 12:30, and OL Reign and Sky Blue, 10 o'clock. Both are on CBS All Access. It is the streaming service, $5.99 a month. There are some codes out there. I'm not sure if all of them are working. I know there were some issues with one that was making the rounds. I think there might be a free month of service out there. I'm not sure. It's $5.99 a month. You can get it for a month and then unsubscribe until the next season starts if you want. CBS is committing resources to this. I want to support it because I want to see more people commit resources to women's soccer. They don't do that if people don't pay. They just don't. So I hope that this is a success. We're waiting on the ratings for the CBS match on Saturday. Do we have them? Or are you pointing at me for something else?
Breaking news sounder, please.
Okay. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is.
It's with my Danishes.
Yeah, pretty much.
From Meg Linehan, ratings info from a source. 572,000 total viewers on CBS, 178,000 for the 18 to 49 age group. The 2019 championship drew 166,000 via ESPN for comparison. And if that number, if I remember correctly, I think that's more viewers for this than the Manchester City-Chelsea match. I think they had slightly less than 572 last week.
Wow, that's impressive because you're talking similar time spots. That's one thing that people always point at with, when you start comparing domestic league ratings to Premier League ratings. It's like, the Premier League ratings would be even higher because they're at 10 o'clock or it's at 12 o'clock. Well, this was a 12:30 Eastern time kick on CBS. It wasn't prime time. It wasn't later in the afternoon. It was early, and it was really early on the West Coast. And that's a good number. I don't know how people are going to take it, feel about it. I don't know what the conversation's going to be about it. If you're 4 to 5 times what your final was on ESPN, you're on CBS, you should get more. You did get more. And you're in the ballpark of Premier League games on NBC. And was that an NBCSN game or an NBC game?
Yeah, that was an NBCSN game.
Okay, so you're comparing CBS to NBCSN, so you have to keep that in mind too. But that's great. And what I hope, and again, I think you need, if you want to see this league grow, $5.99 a month is worth it. If you care about women's soccer, it's worth it. But I do hope that, as we've seen with Serie A, as we've seen with other leagues that are on mostly streaming services but do have traditional outlets. We've seen an increase in those games on the traditional outlets right now. I hope if CBS doesn't have the space to get some more games on, I hope that CBS Sports Network does. I'm a little surprised they didn't use that more in this. But you're trying to sell a product. And I know it's easy to complain about paywalls and, you know, subscriptions and all that, but the fact is, if these products don't make money, they don't survive. It's just that simple. And not all of us have all the money we want to have to subscribe to everything we want to subscribe to. We have to pick and choose. But that's life, isn't it? We have to prioritize. And if you care about women's soccer, CBS is investing in women's soccer in a way that no other American network has. That deserves the support if you want to see the women's game grow. And obviously the numbers are showing that people want to see it grow. So I hope that this is going well for CBS, and I hope that they decide, you know what, we're doing really well with this. Let's put a few more games on CBS Sports Network that's on cable for a lot of people. And maybe we can squeeze another game on CBS during this in that 12:30 time slot, because it went pretty well. I mean, I think the 12:30 time slot for CBS, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not always a national broadcast on Saturdays. Sometimes it just goes to local programming.
Yeah, no, it does. And this is that gap time in the summer where CBS is trying to figure out what to put in. Usually later in the afternoon, it's golf. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's the CBS Sports Spectacular stuff where it's the BMX, the motocross, the horse racing, the lanyap that they have as a part of their library. Sometimes it goes earlier in the afternoon before it goes into golf. Ricky Ricardo says if you get a subscription to 24/7 Sports, it comes with a subscription to CBS All Access added in. And remember, though,
24/7 Sports, Ricky, share that link for people who are interested, because I don't know that one.
Yeah, 24/7 Sports is the one that deals with recruiting and high school and college. That one.
Okay.
But what CBS is trying to do is they're trying to continue the viability of All Access, because they've created programming specifically for this pay service where it's like their version of Netflix, where the Good Wife spinoff with Christine Baranski, that goes to All Access. Mm-hmm. The Star Trek series spinoffs, that goes to All Access. The Picard one, I think, is on All Access as a part of it. So they're trying to make All Access viable, and by adding a sports property to it, it's trying to branch out what All Access can be. So I understand why CBS is trying to have as much on All Access as possible with this first sports property, although at the same time, I think that what we saw with big CBS with this first number and having CBS Sports Network at your disposal, although obviously you're talking households and getting into that discussion too. I'd like to see stuff on CBS Sports Network for those that can't afford the $6 a month, but I understand that that's where the bulk of this is going to go for the viability of their service.
It's business, and you're going to have Champions League coming up. You might have Champions League on CBS coming up now. Turner has opted out of Champions League, and the games in August could move over to CBS. They could stay on Turner. UEFA might have to leave them there. They could go on a temporary basis to ESPN or Fox. We'll have to see. The deal for Turner through Champions League was for next season as well, and CBS was going to take over starting in the 21-22 season. That could be accelerated. So they're showing more of a commitment to soccer than we've seen at a time where Fox is not. Fox, if you haven't been paying attention to the TV sports landscape, Fox is in a really weird spot at the moment. You know, the conversations came up about MLS and production costs, and it was like, oh, well, why is Fox being cheap? They're being cheap. Well, they just got out of a 7-more-year deal with the USGA on the U.S. Open and golf and other events. It was $100 million a year for 12 years. So it was a total $1.2 billion deal. they've done 5 years, or was this year 6 or was this year 5? I think they've done 5 years.
They've done 5. This is 6.
Okay, so this is 6. They're opting out. They're out. It's going back to NBC. So Fox is trying to cut costs. They lost the Bundesliga. Not a huge amount of money, but a decent amount. They've lost that. Now they don't have the USGA. They don't have golf, I don't think, at all. There's talk that they're trying to stash their money right now for NFL because you have a package coming up here very soon.
22.
And it's going to be very competitive. You could see some more competition when it comes to college sports. I don't know, but that's a big question going forward as well. So the TV landscape is changing. CBS committed to the NWSL before the pandemic. They've got the Champions League, again, before the pandemic. They're growing the all-access property that will include live sports as part of it. They do have the sports network that they really haven't done a ton with over the years.
No.
And they have CBS Sports. And remember, CBS doesn't have the SEC anymore in the fall. That will be changing. Is that changed this year or next year?
I think it's next year, efforting.
Okay, so CBS could be a player when it comes to not just women's soccer, but soccer in general. So these are all shifts in the media landscape. It's going to be interesting to see how it all falls out. But I would think, and maybe we'll get some quotes out of CBS, I would think that's a number they've got to be pretty happy with on a Saturday afternoon for a property they've never broadcast before.
Ends after 2023 season. They pay $55 million a year. They offered $300. ESPN and ABC reportedly offered $330 million.
Okay, so they've still got some time with SEC.
Couple of years.
I thought they were about to lose it.
But still, I mean, you're losing one of your bell cows that you've had for 2 decades.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do on those college football Saturday afternoons to fill that space that was a ratings juggernaut for you for decades and was one of the linchpins of your sports properties? So that is a big question for CBS going forward. But what you can do if you're adding soccer properties and you're adding all of this inventory and you invest behind it and you tell the stories and you have all the ancillary programming, there's ways to boost what you want to bring in as a part of your dossier. And I think that what you could do here, if you were CBS, whichever platform you wanted to determine and tie it to, if you told the stories, if you had a little bit of pre and post, if you had those kinds of featurey things that we're used to seeing to continue to help tell the stories, to attach yourself to this property and sit there and say, hey, look, we believe in women's soccer. We believe in the NWSL. Here's some background on because you were talking a handful of minutes ago before we got into the ratings numbers about players to watch. If you were able to tell those stories about this team and about this league that you're jumping in with here in this situation in Utah, I think that you could have that linchpin capability to be one of the voices for women's soccer. You'd have it right there, and it would be yours to create whatever you wanted to do with it.
Yeah. And I think one other thing that there's been some speculation about, and we'll see how it goes. I don't think Fox is going to want out of their relationship with FIFA. I think that one is too lucrative for them. Yeah. But when you see them start to shed properties, you wonder. And right now they've got the rights through 26 for the World Cup for FIFA properties. That's the Women's World Cup. That's the Men's World Cup. That's the U17s, the U20s, whatever else FIFA puts on. You've got all that. Now, 22, the reason they have to do 26 is because of 22 and where it falls on the calendar. Because that's going to hurt Fox because they're going to have problems like they did with the U.S. Open moving into the fall. How are you going to manage college football, NFL, and a World Cup and make it all fit programmatically? I don't know. But they gave them 26, basically. They had to pay for it, but they didn't put it out for bid. Yeah. They gave them that basically as a make-good because of where it fell in the calendar in 22. And I think Fox would really want 26 because it's going to be here, and the ratings should be absurd. But where are they financially? Are they going to be able to wait for 26? Who knows? We're just going to have to wait and see. But the landscape is really changing on the soccer media front. Premier League is still with NBC next year. Bundesliga is moving over to ESPN Plus, with probably a handful of games ending up on one of the ESPN platforms, like we've seen with Serie A. La Liga is staying with BN. BN re-upped with La Liga in this country. I believe Liga and the Turkish Super League are going to still be with BN. Serie A is going to be with ESPN for a minute. There's a lot of moving parts here. ESPN's grabbed a lot for ESPN Plus, but if CBS All Access keeps going for it, hey, we'll see how this goes. But they've got women's soccer right now, and I'd be curious to see, because nobody has the American rights to the Women's Super League out of England. Nobody has the U.S. rights to the W League in Australia. Those are two of the other major leagues. The French league is a strong one with Lyon as well. You've got CBS Sports Network. Now you've got All Access. Now you could grab some of things. They could be, outside of the Women's World Cup, the women's soccer hub if they want to do it. Yeah,
and also something to consider where Fox is concerned is their 5-year $billion deal with World Wrestling Entertainment. And we're already seeing cuts in programming, cuts in personnel, and right now I look at Fox on a couple of different fronts, and I think they're trying to make sure that their flanks are covered financially, because you mentioned it earlier. The NFL is coming up in 2022, and if you want to continue to be a serious player there, you're going to have to make sure that you can stuff some money under the mattress and be ready for that negotiation, because that's going to be big.
Yeah, and that's, from a sports media perspective, that's the one you got to have on the broadcast side if you want to be relevant. So they're going to prioritize that over everything else at Fox, and we'll see where everything else falls. Let's catch up on the comments on Twitch. Joe Johnstone, yes, you need to renew CBS All Access. KFC is excited about the Patrick Stewart Picard show. I don't watch it, so I don't know. I hope it's good. I don't really get into the Star Trek universe. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was more Star Wars. Wasn't really big into either one, but yeah, Star Trek never grabbed me. So if you're into that, cool. They will be doing other shows. They will not have what the NBC one is going to have in the Saved by the Bell reboot. Which, yes, I will be excited about that. I know CBS All Access does have the old Beverly Hills 90210s and Melrose Places, so that's fun.
See, but I get that on Pop, though. I get that on the old TV Guide network.
Yeah, but I mean, it's on demand. That's the whole point of a streaming service.
Yeah, I do, but I mean, for me, Beverly Hills 90210, the first 4 or 5 seasons, then when they went off to college. And
you're gonna do what I think you're gonna do. You're gonna play the usual, like, oh, it's a high school show. They go to college and it's no good.
No. I'm just saying I will always maintain that Claire was Steve's best match for the entire series. That has
nothing to do with what we're talking about.
No, but I think that literally 5 or 6 seasons, and then once you get past like the 6th season, the stories get kind of tired.
No, it was good all the way through college. It was after college that they kind of got weird. All the way through college, it was good. Anyway, we're not going to get into 90210 down here. KFC wants to talk about Dabinia. We'll talk about Dabinia ahead of tomorrow's match.
She's ridiculous.
Yes, she is. She's a great player, but she is not playing today. We'll talk about her tomorrow when North Carolina Courage play what is going to be the game of the tournament, at least early on, with North Carolina and Washington tomorrow night, 10 o'clock. It's worth staying up for.
Yes.
That should be a fun one with Dabinia, with Crystal Dunn against Rose Lavelle. That'll be a very fun match. The early match tomorrow is a good one, too, because it's the two teams that lost on Saturday that both, I think, showed well. Chicago and Portland both have got something to prove. Jess and I dug into all of that on the Cup date, so go check that out. About 40 minutes or so of a recap from the weekend and preview of these next 2 days if you want to dig into more detail. Turner talking about the anthem college. Turner said college still does it the best. The band is on the field doing their pregame stuff. They do it in the middle of that. Teams are in the locker room. Yep, that's fine because it's not part of the game. The game, for me, the game presentation is when the teams come out. Yeah. Not when they come out to warm up, but when they come out to play. Don't have it as part of that. That way you can handle all of this the way you want to handle it. If you're worried about sponsors and not wanting to upset them and wanting to make sure that everybody's good, okay, play it. Just don't put the players in a situation where they become billboards for whatever everybody else wants to put on them. That's not fair to the players. Don't put them in that situation. Because the way this whole thing went down, I think it shows you, like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So do it separate. I agree with Turner. I think the college way of doing it, and if you want to do a different song, if you want to do something else, fine. But just don't have it as part of the game. Kefsi with a question, and Jess did talk about this on the Cup date, ask about just the experience of, before games in England, you don't play God Save the Queen. Nope. It's before national team games. It's not before just a random league game. She said she's heard the U.S. anthem more than she's heard her own being here playing games. And it was the same thing when in high school for me, where we had exchange students from Germany and Liberia, and they're like, what do we do? What do we do with this? And it's awkward. It's weird. And when you get into these professional games where you might have more players on the field from other countries than from the U.S., it's just not necessary. I don't know. Let's see. So Joe Johnstone is wanting to maybe create a show for you, Life Hacks with John.
Life Hacks down here?
Yeah. Chris Ashley's horrified by your expiration dates are arbitrary type of mentality.
They're not arbitrary. I'm just inquisitive about deadlines. That's
0 days past the expiration. That's what Chris Ashley has to say.
But Milk says 7, though.
It says 7 past the expiration?
Yeah. It's
Where does Milk say? Who is Mr. Milkman that tells you 7 days after the expiration?
It's the wives' tale. But they said that if you kept it in the fridge, it was good up to 7 days after the expiration date. You never heard that?
No. I've never heard that in my life.
Okay. Well, I'm not a milk person, but that's because I'm allergic to it. But
that's probably for the best, because I don't think that's a good theory at all.
But and Joe has a question for a non-soccer question, or a non-women's soccer question for later on Twitter, by the way. But yeah, Life Hacks down here. You never heard the thing about milk being good up to a week after the expiration
Chris
date.
Ashley's horrified right now. I'm horrified right now.
Like I said, I don't drink milk. I mean, I drink chocolate milk as a recovery.
Who told you that?
Growing up. Fine, we'll ask Mike when he comes on at the top of the hour.
Boy, I don't know. Turner asked about baseball and the anthem. Says, do you think that baseball is part of the presentation? At least in the regular season, usually players are still wandering around and getting loose when the anthem is played. I'm trying to think. It's been that long since I've watched baseball. Do they still do the thing where for just a regular game that they come out and stand on the baseline? And so they do. They just play it, and people are milling around.
Yeah, people are milling around. Your lineups are on the big matrix boards and that kind of stuff.
Pitcher usually warming up while this is going on.
Yeah, I think so.
That's fine. If that's the case, I guess. I'd have to see it again, Turner. It's been that long since I paid attention to baseball.
Remember that TV has an impact on all of this. If they want to show it, they'll show it. If they don't, then the anthem will get pushed before TV comes on the air.
That's not the case in MLS. It is at a certain time, period.
Yeah.
Now, TV might do different things on their TV, but it's not. No, they don't push the anthem for MLS.
Right.
And they don't push it for NFL. They don't push it for they push it for for high school, like with GPB.
Yeah.
They don't push it with professional leagues. It is timed. It is set that, I mean, for USL, it's going to be at the same time every time.
Yep.
And that's what you do.
And we go to commercial.
Yeah, because you can't necessarily time it out because somebody might sing it for 2.5 minutes, somebody might sing it for, a minute 15, and it's all over the place.
Yep.
Chris Ashley's still horrified. Check your sources, is what he says. And yes.
Nick says, man, you smell the milk, and if it's good, you're good. Bump the date.
You have to smell it. Absolutely. I have moved to the organic milk because it lasts longer, and it always, it works out for my timing of drinking milk because I don't drink a ton of milk. I'll occasionally have a bowl of cereal. I will, when I make coffee, which is rare, I will a lot of times, drink milk with it. So I don't drink a ton of milk. So I go organic milk. It's a little more expensive, but it lasts longer, and it just works out for my timing with milk. But yeah, you have to smell it regardless of the date.
Oh yeah, I mean when you open it up, you can't help but not smell it for a double negative. But
well, no, you need to make sure you smell it. If you open it up and you smell it and you're not trying to smell it, yeah, throw that out.
Yeah, that's
good.
bad.
Go ahead and pitch that one.
Gotta go.
That's no good at all. Gee, you and milk. It's good that you're allergic to milk because you might make yourself sick.
Yeah. Joe, his question is somewhat anthem based, and he says a late night question posed while talking to my friends at Sacktown FC, and that is one of the media soccer partners of CalStorm Soccer. Joe asks if we did away with the national anthem before MLS and NWSL matches and did a WWE style walkout for teams to a club's chosen music, what would it be?
Well, see, that's what I would do. Now, remind me here, in the NFL, you have teams come out to music out of the tunnel. It's typical for college as well.
Fireworks.
That is usually before the anthem, right?
Yeah, and then they all stand on the sidelines. Okay. The anthem plays, and fireworks go off. Woohoo! And then
reverse it. This is what you do going forward, professional sports. You play the anthem while the teams are in the locker room after they've warmed up. You play it, then you have your game day presentation with the teams coming out. Baseball, obviously going to be a little bit different. They can do what they want. But basketball would work this way because that's when you can do your intros and you can play Alan Parsons Project and all that. Football, you can come running out of the tunnel with the smoke. You can come running out of the tunnel in soccer. I'm cool with that.
Oh, yeah.
People around the world are going to be like, oh, look at the Americans again. Look at what they're doing to our game. But I have no problem with that.
Stop it.
Come running out of the tunnel. No, there's a lot of people here.
Oh, I know.
Don't go to stop it. It's going to happen. You know it. Because it's not the walkout that you see typically. Come running out of a tunnel. I'm fine with it. I would have fun with it.
I love that. Nick is suggesting Motorhead's Bow Down to the King.
No, Triple H is not with these teams, so that would only work if it's Triple H. Any kind of theme specifically made for a wrestler is going to be weird if the wrestler doesn't come out with them. And you don't want Goldberg leading a team out because he's bad luck. Go ask Georgia football. It's bad luck. Don't have Goldberg walk him out to the Goldberg theme. Orlando would have to come out to Liquid Dreams by O-Town. Miami could come out to some Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine, or Pitbull. Yeah, that's good too. There's a lot of Pitbull songs that would work out well for coming running out of a tunnel. Nashville's got a ton of options.
Oh, Nashville, that's fun.
You would come up with some bad ones, I would assume. I would say Nashville should come out to, and it wasn't made for wrestling, but I think of it from wrestling because of what WWE did with it. God's Gonna Cut You Down, the mix that they did with Rick Rubin of the Johnny Cash song. Nashville could come out to that. It's ominous. I like it.
Yes.
Chicago, off the top of my head,
Get some. I would have said some blues in there somewhere, but some up.
John, do you know who goes to games?
Yeah, I do.
They don't want blues, John. You don't want to play blues before you're about to play a game. Chicago Fire have been bad for a while now, but you don't want to play the blues before the game.
But
Play
no, I
it
would have
after
said
the game when they stink.
I would have said something like the Blues Brothers, "Sweet Home Chicago" or something like that.
No, because it's not 1985. Would have said you could play some Kanye West, but you're probably going to stay away from that these days.
Yeah.
Is Lupe Fiasco from Chicago?
Efforting.
I think he is, but he hasn't had anything in a minute, so I don't know if that's going to work. I'm not up on my Chicago artists, so help me out with that one. New York, you got a ton of things. I mean, just whatever direction you want to go for NYC. Red Bulls have to come out to something from Jersey. Yes. They can't come out to something from New York. It's got to be Jersey. It's got to be Springsteen or Bon Jovi or something Jersey.
Southside Johnny.
Who, John?
Southside Johnny and the Asbury Dukes.
When did they come out?
They gravy trained off of Springsteen.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, and
do they still do anything?
Probably in some dive bars and get paid like $50 a gig.
It's not about what song we would like. It's about what song would work in a stadium full of people.
And Lupe Fiasco, Double J, is from Chicago, Illinois.
Okay. I thought he was Chicago.
Yes.
Philadelphia, a ton of different options. You can go all kinds of different ways. I'm not up on the Montreal music scene. It would probably need to be in French, and it would probably be something we've never heard of, but be awesome. New England, man, if you played in Boston, you'd play the Dropkick Murphys, but you don't play in Boston, so you can't play that. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other things you could go with. You could go with, if you want to go Dropkick, you could go with State of Massachusetts and make that work, I think. Dallas, man. It doesn't work now, but I think it would be actually really cool. It's too old, and nobody would know what it is. The theme from the stupid old show, Dallas.
Oh, that'd be great.
It would work for running out of the tunnel, but people wouldn't know it.
Montreal.
You'd have to really sell that one.
Montreal Arcade Fire.
Okay, yeah, you could go Arcade Fire and do some cool stuff. Vancouver, I got nothing.
Efforting.
I got nothing. You might need to play the Blues before the game for Vancouver.
Dirge.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, Canada. Toronto, you're going to have to make suggestions as well.
Skinny Puppy out of Vancouver.
Have you ever heard of Skinny Puppy, John?
Back in the mid-'80s when they were allegedly popular.
Don't
the Payolas.
Be dismissive of Skinny Puppy like that, John. That's very insulting.
The Payolas.
Okay, we're not just looking up bands on Wikipedia. That's not going to help us here. People can suggest. Let the listeners do the work on that one. DC, you got to go.
Everybody else, I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah, DC, you got to go. Something really DC with that. That'd be fun. Seattle, I mean, take your pick.
Oh, yeah.
you kind of have a sound that you can pick whatever you want to do with
awesome.
that. San Jose. You've got a lot of Bay Area stuff, but I'm not sure if it represents San Jose necessarily. So that could be a tricky one.
Smash Mouth or the Doobies.
Are you seriously going to recommend playing Smash Mouth before a soccer game?
Under no circumstance.
You just did.
I'm looking at bands from San Jose, California.
Like I said, don't do that because you're going to say things like play Smash Mouth before San Jose Earthquakes game. And Earthquakes fans are going to be up in your mentions, and they should because that's an insult. Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, you would play All Gold Everything, and that's an older song by Trinidad James, but that works. We Ready, obviously, you could play. You need to almost change it every game, and
yeah.
I'm good with that.
Absolutely.
Because you've got so many different things to pick from. Like I said, Red Bulls has got to be Jersey. You got to go Jersey. You can't go New York. Cincinnati and Columbus are tough ones because I remember this with our post-game songs on the Full-Time Report. Those were always more difficult. Which one was it? There's somebody from Columbus that has actually emerged here lately. 21 Pilots, I think, is from Columbus. Let me make sure of that. Yep, they're Columbus. So you've at least got something to work with there for Columbus. Minnesota, if you don't come out to Prince, I'm going to fight you.
Yes,
I will
exactly.
fight you. And sorry, Soul Asylum and Replacements and other Minnesota artists.
Prince.
Again, Soul Asylum and the Replacements, you have to show your respect. Don't go no. But it's Prince. It's got to be Prince.
Tafka says the National are from Cincinnati, but I'm not sure what song you could use.
That's a tough one. Yeah, I don't know what song you would use. Because that's the thing, is this is not just, pick the best artist from that city, because they might not have a song that works to come running out in a stadium. Like, right. That's not, like, the Black Crowes are great in Atlanta, but you're not going to come running out in the stadium in 2020 to the Black Crowes when
you're not going to come out to Remedy. No.
And it's got to be a song that fits. Like, it can't be something lyrically that doesn't work in a pregame scenario. There's specific kinds of things here that would work. Los Angeles, you got all kinds of options for them. Houston, I'd be intrigued to see where you go. Because you could go Latin in Houston, and I think work, and I think they should. If you want to go older, screwed up stuff, you could go that. If you played the screwed up click coming out in Houston, that would be amazing. Portland's got some options. I'm not sure what would be the best in a stadium. Have to test that one out a little bit. Real Salt Lake in Colorado. Real Salt Lake's another tougher one. But you've got the drummer from Rancid, who's a huge RSL fan, and he's done a song, so you could probably work something up with that, tweak it, or do something new. Cool, you're good. Colorado, I'd have to double check. But yes, I like this idea, Joe Johnstone. You are the man for coming up with us. This is what we do. Move the anthem before all this. If you have to play the anthem, or if you play an alternative anthem, or whatever you do that before. You use the MLS anthem in some of that, and you can use it again after the teams come running out. But after you do whatever your national anthem, flag presentation, all of that, the teams can come running out of the tunnel. The home team comes running out of their tunnel to their song. Yes, let's do this. That will solve all of our problems.
Michael Head says it's nonsense. Do the start of the match just like the EPL. Walk out, shake hands in LFG.
Which is also fine.
I don't want to need any fireworks, songs, or other BS.
See, but that's the thing is, why is it BS? Because England doesn't do it, or Germany doesn't do it, or other countries in the world don't do it. That doesn't make it BS. I'm fine with it if you want to do it that way. I'm fine with it if you want to play the anthem before everything and walk out to the MLS anthem and play it and all that. You're not going to be doing handshakes anytime soon, first off. No. So you do have to remember that part, that the pregame could look very different for quite a while because you're not going to have teams walk out like that, period. Even when you have fans in the stands, I think they're going to get away from that for a good while. Do you go back to it? That's what you've always done, so probably. But is there a guarantee you go back to it? Mm-mm. And if you don't, then do something like this instead. But I don't really care either way. It doesn't matter to me either way. I just don't want to put players in awkward situations with the anthem. That's the thing I'm trying to avoid more than anything.
Yeah, Nick is also suggesting Rancid's Give 'Em the Boot.
Yep. Yeah, that would work. That would work really well. Rancid's got a lot of stuff that would work really well. Okay, John, you are going to tell us about Steve Apolinski right now, and please don't talk about the Blues during this segment.
No, because then I would have to take the groove and take it way down. I'm not going to do that. Apolinski and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. Couple different ways that you can get in touch with him if you have a wrongful death or serious injury matter that needs his undivided attention. With his 30 years of experience and over $40 million in judgments for clients in Georgia and Alabama, go to aa-legal.com. When you pop up the website, pop-up window, lower right-hand corner. If you want to have an immediate conversation, if you have something on your mind right this very second, pop-up window, take care of you 24/7, 365. Or you can shoot Steve an email, steve@aa-legal.com. We'll get a free consultation at 404-377-9191. Recognizes legally by Georgia Trend Magazine top 100 legal firms in the state. Steve Apolinski, once again, the website, aa-legal.com.
Almost got it before the song started to eat your audio.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know. It's strange.
Jared is suggesting the Book of Mormon for RSL. That's
See,
Orlando.
This is where the conversation goes off the rails. All right. This is where what would normally happen on a big-time professional show, you'd go to like a commercial and you'd have producers doing things behind the scenes and getting people, ready to talk to you. We don't have that, so you're going to bear with us while we dial Mike Conti on the line right now, and we'll see if he's ready to answer. And he might be. He might not be. We're going to find out. This is what producers do. We don't have them.
It might be. He might be. It could be. It maybe is.
It's trying to find him, and
Yay!
there he is. What's up, Mike?
We have like another one of those Wi-Fi issues that we've been having because literally you guys did not buzz me until, or at least as far as my phone was concerned, I did not get buzzed until a moment ago.
Yeah, that was it. No, I just buzzed you because I was trying to let John do his read and not distract him.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, we took a little bit of time. We got sidetracked on John is trying to figure out expiration dates. He's going to need your help with that. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
we also got sidetracked with figuring out entrance music for all of the MLS teams. So it's been a busy morning.
Okay. Entrance to the hotel or entrance onto the pit?
I mean, if they wanted to play it as the teams go into the bubble, I'm okay with that.
Well, now, and here's why I asked, because the league is starting to distribute some B-roll of teams entering the bubble. And I just think if you get a chance, I'm not trying to promote my Twitter account. I mean, if you see it anywhere else, but I have tweeted some of it, and I just want everyone to notice some things. First of all, Columbus and Cincinnati are both in the bubble. They're Atlanta United Group B opponents. We have 6 teams in the bubble right now. I want you to notice something as you watch this video. Watch Columbus. They go straight from the bus, not to get a hotel key, which is, typically what we do with the Hawks. We get off the bus, we walk right to a table. They give us a key and a cookie, usually, and a bottle of Gatorade or water, and then up to our rooms. They go straight into a ballroom for COVID testing. Everyone wearing a mask. But, I mean, you don't even get a chance to get your key before they are putting you in the health protocol, doing the questionnaire.
You might get a different key, depending on how that testing goes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you might get a key to the COVID wing, depending on how your swab turns out or how you answer your questionnaire. Cincinnati. They posted B-roll of Cincinnati. For all these people who have raised the alarm bells about, there's no way to ensure that, Disney staff will not come into close contact with these players. I want you to watch. I mean, these guys are walking through the ballrooms into the lobby. There is not a single hotel staffer seen within any distance of them because there are no hotel staffers in there. So I just, I think this is really important because I think there has been a lot of misunderstanding about how the kinds of lengths that the league is going to protect the players and staff who are in the bubble. And if you don't want to believe me because you feel like I'm cheerleading for the league or whatever, that's fine. The video speaks for itself, okay? And there's plenty more examples. I mean, if members of the media access the provided website to us, and you guys know what I'm talking about, you can watch the same B-roll for Minnesota, for Dallas, for San Jose, for Orlando City, all these teams that have gone into the bubble, they're all going through the same things. Everyone's wearing a mask, and wearing a mask properly, by the way. No one's wearing it just over their mouth. That drives me nuts, by the way. Yeah. What's the point of wearing a mask if you don't cover your nose? So I think this is really important for as much alarm has been raised about the situation in Florida, and I get it. It is concerning to see the numbers where they are right now. I just want to reiterate again, and if I'm wrong and they have to shut this thing down because there's an outbreak, I'll take the L on it. I'll come on your show and I'll apologize. But that should not happen if people continue to do what they're supposed to be doing. And I understand this is video distributed by the league, but I don't think it's been doctored or manipulated in any way. If you look at this video and you look at what these players are going through as they enter the bubble, this should work. this should work as long as everyone does what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the anthem aspect of things from the NWSL, but did you catch day one of Challenge Cup, Mike?
Yes, I loved it. And it's interesting because you could tell, like, especially in that first game between Portland and North Carolina, where I think heat might have been a factor, and it's hard for the announcers to really give you the complete picture on that because they are not there. They're in Fort Lauderdale. It really did feel like, though, the heat and the altitude were starting to have an effect as that match wound on, and you had both teams kind of running on fumes. But once you had all the substitution cycle through, the match really opened up, and you had a great finish. North Carolina, the deserving winner. Bixby, the Portland keeper, I thought was outstanding. I mean, it could have been 5 or 6 for North Carolina.
I thought she had a good match, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not so much the way she kept goal. It was more positioning and
being 6 foot tall helps a little bit too.
It certainly does. But positioning, marshaling her area on set piece, like I was really impressed. She had a physical resemblance to Alyssa Nair to me. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed that. Like she has, I think, a real physical resemblance, a similarity to Alyssa Nair. So I was really impressed with her. But North Carolina. I mean, man, they're obviously going to be the team to beat in this tournament. The night game, I didn't see it all the way through, but the highlights I saw on Sunday morning, again, kind of a really fun, exciting finish. And it goes back to what we talked about last week, John. I understand Rapinoe's not there and Carly Lloyd and a couple others, for various reasons, Tobin Heath. But we're still getting good play. And Jason will probably tell you, I was texting him during the match Saturday afternoon. I'm like, okay, who's number 23 on North Carolina? She's really good. So I'm learning things about players that I don't have a familiarity with because it's compelling action. You see the TV rating, by the way?
Yep. Good.
Almost 600,000.
Yeah.
And a lot in that 18 to 49 bracket. So. Yeah. Great numbers, great sign for the league. I wish they would have done more during the broadcast to promote CBS All Access and how to watch the rest of the tournament. I think they missed an opportunity there. But all things considered, really, really good start. And I'm excited for 12:30 this afternoon and getting this back going because the intensity of the matches and the excitement level, maybe not the quality of play, but the excitement level was very, very high for the first 2 matches.
I think the quality, and comparing it to the first games we saw back in England, the first games we saw back in Germany, Italy was a little different because the first games we saw were semifinals of the Coppa Italia, so it had more on the line. The first games in Spain I thought were really kind of slow. I thought it was good. I thought the level didn't detract. The level was good, and it was good enough along with where fitness was, which was good enough. And it all created a compelling watch. And that's what you're asking for here for me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, another thing that's in play as well, Jason, is in Italy and in Spain and in England, you're not dealing with the same altitude issues that you're dealing with in Utah. And I think that's big, especially because a lot of these teams did not enter the bubble until, I don't know when North Carolina went. I want to say it was, Tuesday or Wednesday?
It's like 3 or 4 days before their match. Yeah, that was when they'd go in.
That's not a ton of time. I mean, it's about as good as you can do in a regular season situation, but, altitude acclimation is a really big thing. That's why Frank de Boer took Atlanta United down to Guadalajara to play Leones Negros, to get them used to the altitude issues that they were going to have in Honduras and, by extension, Mexico City. I'm sure he's probably thinking about that too. It's a real thing. So I think as these teams adjust to it, we're not going to see the same kind of wilting that maybe we saw, in the final 20, 30 minutes on Saturday. I thought it was a big win for the league. Win for the league. They got back. They got back safely. They provided compelling television, and it's going to continue.
Well, that in your first match of the day is 10:30 in the morning local time, so it's brunch with the NWSL.
It's tough. It's really, really tough. And I don't know where the campus is in relation to Zions Bank Stadium. I've heard a lot about the campus and how nice it is and how, they're making it so nice that players don't even want to leave. I saw the corporate apartment that the sideline reporter out there is staying in. I'm like, wow, that's nicer than my home. Shoot, I might want to move to San
living it up right now. It's good.
Yeah, like, wow, 5 stars, not bad. So I don't know where it is in relation to Zions Bank Stadium, but I'm going to assume that there's probably a little bit of a commute in play. So yeah, it's a really early wake up, and you're going to want to have a meal before you play, and it's tough. It's going to be really. We're going to see it in MLS too. That is really going to be tough. But I do think NWSL really benefits by having matches on at lunchtime. I really, really do, at lunchtime on the East Coast. And, for whatever European audience is going to be streaming this, I really hope that there's not a geo-block on these matches from CBS.
Good. Twitch. No, it's Twitch is where the international is going to be broadcast.
But you can still get it internationally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 12:30 here is dinner time in most of Europe. So I think it's great. I think it's really smart to do it. I mean, guys, in reality, this is a made-for-TV event. It is a made-for-TV event. Let's call it what it is. So if we're doing this, the TV times are going to trump player comfort a little bit, and I think the benefits outweigh the competitive disadvantages.
Well, I mean, you're also looking at a property that wants to take those first steps. And I think that we got into this in hour number 1, where the NWSL has an opportunity here with CBS, and CBS is trying to draw traffic to their all-access platform and draw eyes to that. And CBS, leading up to the tournament, they said that they understand that the target demos that they're looking for when it comes to the NWSL product, they're the ones who like to stream and head in those directions more than the traditional over-the-air broadcasts, and that's why they put most of the property in that direction.
Well, and I think they're being smart about it too, John, because they're streaming it live, and then as soon as the match is over, they're putting it on linear on CBS Sports Network, which I know a lot of people don't generally watch because watching monster trucks and
they got to find it first off.
Monster trucks and Mountain West Conference football doesn't necessarily move the needle, but it is on linear. So I think it's a good balance. You're trying to push people to the stream, but you're not denying people who are unwilling or incapable of streaming. So we'll see where it goes from here. But again, really encouraging start. Really, really encouraging start on Saturday, and Lisa Baird's got to be really, really excited. You don't really even hear much muttering anymore about what happened with Orlando. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Like, when you have 2 good matches out of the gate, you get control of the narrative really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely helps, because the conversation coming in was who opted out, and you have a whole team that can't play. And I don't know if we're going to get the answers to what happened in Orlando with the testing issues. That's a big question mark, because it sounds like maybe the issues weren't even as bad as people thought. But they've overcome it. And once you got on the field, the storylines, for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part, have been about the soccer. The more soccer that's played, I think that'll be the case. I would expect it's going to be the same in MLS. I think you're going to have all kinds of storylines going in. We're seeing it in all the sports right now. There's some conversations about, in baseball, people opting out, people choosing not to play. We haven't had that in MLS yet. Maybe we do before teams go in the bubble. Who knows? You have a lot of questions about, can you do it safely? Once the games start, I think that washes away, as long as all the protocols and everything's being followed.
I could not agree with you more robustly, Jason. Absolutely. And And I think so far we have evidence that it is being done safely. And we'll get another testing update today.
Right.
I'm sure, there might be another positive test or two that we're going to learn about, and, we'll get the corresponding reaction to it. But I'll just say again that it's not about positives. It's about preventing outbreaks. And I'll maintain again, as I said earlier, if everyone does what they're supposed to do, we're not going to have that. But absolutely, we're going to transition into some real legit storylines in the next couple days because the countdown is on now to matches, and you've got more and more teams. In fact, really, we're getting close to having some friendlies. We're going to have some friendlies in the next couple days, and yeah, they're friendlies, and they might be a little bit hard to find as far as the stream is concerned, but it's live action, and it's going to be the first time we see an MLS team kick a ball against another team in quite a while. I don't know if you noticed Atlanta United, the video that they put out yesterday, that looked a lot like an inter-squad scrimmage. And I don't know for sure what they're doing. They did not release rights-free B-roll to the media like they had been doing. They've really stopped doing that in the last couple of weeks. I'm sure probably for tactical reasons.
Yeah.
But what they put out yesterday looked a ton like an intra-squad scrimmage. And I think that's probably what Atlanta United's looking at doing, because they're not going into the bubble until the very last minute. And honestly, if I were making the decision, I'd probably want to do the same thing. Because I'm going to Orlando with the intent of winning this thing, which means we're going to be there for 5 weeks. So I don't want to spend any more time than I have to down there. The level of heat that you can train in here in Atlanta, not that dissimilar to what you're going to deal with in Orlando. So I think the club is doing it exactly right. And again, it's a little snippet of B-roll, but it looked like it was a pretty intense competitive scrimmage, if that's what they were actually doing. Whatever they were doing looked intense. Encouraging. Really, really encouraging.
You're ramping up. You're not quite into match week yet, and I think you'd love to have, once you arrive in Orlando, feel like a traditional week of training ahead of a match, and your timing, for Atlanta, it kind of works out. Your first game's an 8:00 game on a Saturday. People are used to that. That's your body clock can adjust to that pretty quick. I think right now it's kind of finding that balance between testing fitness and increasing fitness for some, but also trying some things out tactically, because they've got to figure out how to replace Joseph Martinez in this event. They've got some other weapons at their disposal in terms of Josetu and Castro that you haven't seen much in real action. There's work to do, and you got to figure those things out now before you get into that match week preparation, which should be what you normally do. You kind of have an idea what the lineup's going to be. You're fine-tuning. Right now is maybe your final decisions.
Yeah, and John Gallagher was on with John and Hugh this morning, and he alluded to how they have been working a little bit on dealing with high press because they know they're going to play Red Bulls first. But Gallagher also said that, Frank has basically made it about what Atlanta United can do, not necessarily reacting to their opponent, but what they can do to dictate. So I think that's an interesting sign that, maybe now they are working on some tactical things. And you're close enough to resuming play now. You're inside of 2 weeks where you really do need to start thinking about tactics. But you're right, Jason. Just like when you pack your bag for a big trip, you got to make sure you've got everything in the bag. And a lot of that has to do with roster, and I think you saw some of that yesterday with I don't even want to call it recalling. It's basically restoring John Gallagher to the roster because his loan expired. I don't know what the official verb would be for that. You extended the Manuel Castro loan. I would assume they might look at doing something else, maybe a couple things before they leave. So it's a busy week. It's a really, really busy week at the training ground. And we haven't even gotten into the Lopez rumors yet, whatever that turns out to be.
Well, I'll tell you.
Tell us.
About lunchtime yesterday, Miguel Brunot, the treasurer of Olympia, quote, this is from Gerardo Noguera down in Paraguay, for FALG 1080 AM. the Eric Lopez thing is super advanced, quoting Brunot with Atlanta of MLS, and we were just waiting to sign the papers. So that's your update.
Okay. Jason, if they get this done this week, could he play in Orlando?
Yeah, he returned to individual training June 10th, from what I read. Paraguay's not restarting until late in July, but they started their individual training at Olympia earlier in the month. So he'd have some basic fitness from this. There's going to be something roster-wise. They haven't said yet because it's MLS rosters, and a lot of times they make it up out of thin air and put duct tape on it. So we know there's going to be something because of the Leandro Gonzalez Perez, the Miami rumors, other players that teams are adding. We've seen homegrown signings. We've seen USL signings. There's going to be something. And what's been rumored from the Athletic folks, Tenorio and Stejskal, is that you would see something like we see at the end of a season before the expansion draft. Some kind of 1 to 2 day window where these deals can get done and players can get added. Then you wouldn't be making moves during the tournament. And then there will be a normal transfer window at some point afterwards. My gut feeling is you'd like to have that transfer window line up somewhat with what's going on in Europe, where it looks like it's going to be September, and October 5th is the close of the transfer windows in Europe. You want to be in that conversation. So you'll be able to make moves now, and then it'll be like a day or two that you just basically sign off on all the paperwork and register all the players that you need to be registered. So, yeah, he could play.
I'm just trying to work backwards from a travel standpoint. And, you know, I know that professional sports has been deemed essential by Homeland Security, but I do wonder, like, would he have to quarantine for 14 days?
I don't believe so.
I don't know. I think you're right, but I'm not certain. How easy is it to get someone from Paraguay to Atlanta right now? You know, does he have to fly through New York? Does that slow things down? How do you get him to Orlando? You know, it's my understanding that in order to enter the bubble, you have to come straight off a charter. That you can't come off a commercial flight into Orlando. So I'm just wondering if the window might be closing a little bit.
It wouldn't close for him to go because they have said that players can join. I think you're right. In the perfect world, he gets to Atlanta before Saturday when they're going to go on the charter down there. Is that possible? Normally it would be. I don't know if it is now. He'd have to undergo the testing before the charter flight, which would start tomorrow?
72 hours before. So if they're the latest they could go is Saturday. I have not heard what they booked, but the latest they could go is Saturday.
Reports are Saturday from whatever it is that follows charter flights. Atlanta was listed for a Saturday. There's a Twitter account I found. They report on all of it.
So yeah, I think it would be tomorrow. I think you'd have to take a test tomorrow and then another test Friday. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to throw cold water on anything. And even if he couldn't make it in time for the group stage, there's still a lot that makes sense about these rumors. But when we talk about packing the bag and knowing where you need to be roster-wise, you might be pressing forward under the idea that, at least for the group stage, you're not going to have them.
One question about the visa freeze as well. That would not apply to professional athletes. It's a different classification under the visa freeze. The ones that I don't even know if that has officially went through, but the one that pro athletes are under was not part of what had been discussed being frozen.
The H1A against the H1B, was that?
Yeah, the H1A is where athletes fall, and that was not listed.
Well, too. I mean, I think we have seen with the federal government that, and even with the federal government of Canada, not the provincial government, but the federal government, that teams are getting waivers pretty easily in order to conduct business. I bring up Canada because I know one of the concerns that some of the MLS players have expressed is, are the Canadian team players going to have to quarantine for 14 days when they get back from Florida? Well, no, because they're not making the National Hockey League players do that, nor are they reportedly making the Toronto Blue Jays do that. And I say that's a federal thing because the provincial government of British Columbia has been more hardline. The NHL wanted to put a hub city in Vancouver. She said, the health director there said no. But my point is, professional sports teams are not really operating under the same rules as leisure travelers right now. Yeah. So if there's a will, there's a way.
One thing to throw in on Lopez and playing in this tournament, it's just an important factor because everybody's excited. You see what the transfer fees being reported anywhere between $3 and $5 million, and it seems like every source has a different number. Some it's 3 to 3.7 plus incentives afterwards. Whatever. You hear the number and you're like, oh, okay, he's going to start tomorrow. He's played 16 professional games. He has a few appearances for Paraguayan youth national teams. It's a great start to a career, but he's not going to come in tomorrow and start on the 11th, you wouldn't think. So slow down in the expectations. He can come in. He could join the team in Orlando. He could start training and earn a spot. But he's not going to have a spot handed to him. He's not that player yet. And he's a young guy. He's got to acclimate to a new team, a new league, and a global pandemic, which makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah, spot on. And from a mental standpoint, it's going to be, boy, that's a tough ask of an 18-year-old. I don't know how much English he speaks, if any. Wow, I mean, you're throwing a lot at an 18-year-old in the middle of a pandemic, moving him to a different continent and throwing him straight in the deep end. Atlanta United doesn't operate that way. They just don't operate that way. They didn't operate that way with
at.
Yeah. Guys, they didn't operate that way with Ezequiel Barco even.
No.
And there were injuries in play as well. But remember, when Barco got healthy, Tata did not throw him in for 90 minutes. I mean, it was a very slow kind of gradual climb because he had to earn that starting spot. And it's a similar situation in terms of age, but as far as professional experience is concerned, Barco probably came in with way more than Lopez.
Way more. Not even close.
And what you're seeing with Lopez, Mike, is once again where Atlanta United is investing in an individual for later. This isn't something that is, we're hopping on him and we're going to run like hell. This is an investment in an individual where you're anticipating moving him on to the European theater, say, and getting a lot back on that investment wherever it is, somewhere between the 3 and 5.
Yeah, it's really savvy. And, if it comes true, if they end up making this signing, I'll be really curious to hear from Darren and Carlos how the scouting went on this. Because I'm going to guess they probably had him identified before Joseph even got hurt.
I would assume.
And I say that because no one's really played since Joseph got hurt. The soccer is certainly in South America. The soccer world was shut down 2 weeks after Joseph got hurt. So I'll just be very curious to see how they identified him, who may have identified him, and what they saw in him in that limited sample. We've heard Carlos talk about when he scouted Pity Martinez, a big part of the scouting process was watching the way he practiced. Is that going to be a similar story that we hear about Eric Lopez? I don't know. But to your point,
maybe.
John, it just
maybe.
It just goes to show you the level of work that this club does everywhere, in every facet, to gain every possible advantage. Because I'm going to guess that a lot of MLS teams were not in on Lopez before now.
I don't think anybody was. There were no rumors on him anywhere before, and there's multiple things that have fallen into place. This is a move that you're able to jump on because you've done your homework. You know, he's got 15 games last season. He made his pro debut last summer. Played in the Paraguayan League, scored in his first 3 games, and then he played in the U23 Olympic qualifying tournament, which they had scouts at. There were people there observing all the talent there. And he was one of the younger players there, so that's going to jump out to you. And, just judging from Atlanta United's history and MLS as a whole, you're starting to see more Paraguayan players come into the league. So you're building connections, network. You're going to get to know people who know these guys a little bit more. It's if you haven't been able to go down and see him train, you're going to have people who either have or know him or know the family, et cetera, et cetera. So there's going to be more of a backup. But Olympia, as a lot of clubs of their size are right now, finances are not good, and you've got to bring in some revenue. You've also had a rule change, and this was one that came up on the show yesterday. I don't think it's the primary reason here. I think the financials are. But the Paraguayan League had a rule previously that you had to have a player under the age of 19 in your starting lineup for every league match. They've changed that to U23. Some people speculated that the only reason he got his start last year was because he was under 19. I think his performances showed that if he got the first start because of it, he kept it because of his strong performances. But they've changed that rule. And people have said that he didn't play much in the Apertura that got stopped because of the rule change. He didn't play much in the Apertura because he was away with the U23 team, that tournament that was in January and February, and then he rejoined the team.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of stuff factor into it is basically it. And Atlanta's taken advantage of the situation because they've done their homework. They know they like what he can bring to the table, and an opportunity has presented itself for what they feel is a really good deal.
Yeah. And I would just point out, this is not the first time this season where Atlanta United has been able to kind of out-scout the rest of the league. Mateus Ozetu was someone that no one had been linked to other than Atlanta United. Manuel Castro, for the most part, no one had been linked to him other than Atlanta United. So they've really done an exceptional job. And I remember there was a time where I think some fans were fearful that Frank de Boer would kind of shun South American scouting in favor of finding Dutch players and Germans and Europeans and all that. And I think that has been proven completely wrong by now.
Yeah, I think so. Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about this afternoon on a special Tuesday stoppage time.
Yeah, it's a holiday week. So like your garbage, we're doing it one day early this week. So 2:00 on the 92.9 The Game Facebook page. And that NWSL match will probably be winding down as we come on. So we'll have some thoughts on that, and a lot of MLS talk as well. It's going to be a fun show.
And expiration dates on food.
Yeah, you got to help John with expiration dates. He's confused.
Well, there's a difference between an expiration date and a best if used by date, right?
I tried to explain that.
Yeah. So, I mean, certain foods really, their half-lives are much, much different than perishables. Perishables have expiration dates where you have to discard them by a certain date. If you have Pepperidge Farm cookies that are best by July 10th and you eat them on July 30th, you're probably going to be okay.
Sweet. I didn't know that.
John, ask about your milk wives' tale real quick.
Okay. Well, no. I mean, have you heard the idea that milk is good for a week after the expiration date on it if you keep it in the fridge?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that. I haven't been brave enough to try that. Have you?
I'm allergic to milk, Mike. I'm
think
exempt
it's for
from
the
that.
best.
Yeah, we're going to call that a bullet dodge.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I worry sometimes. I'm glad he's allergic to milk so he doesn't get sick on us.
Mm-hmm. Bad form on the show.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Oh, well, maybe that's helped a little bit, hopefully. Thanks, Mike.
Hopefully.
See you
I'm here
too.
to serve. I hope it helps.
Yes.
See you, Mike.
See you too.
Okay, see you guys.
All right, we've got lots of random things to finish out with. Ben Jacobs.
And the Twitters.
What?
And the Twitters. You've got
yes,
Twitch, I get
we
Twitters.
always have the Twitters and Twitch and all that. But we have news first.
Okay.
Ben Jacobs, who is a writer, he's been with ESPN, he's been with TalkSport, he's been with BN, he's with 7 League. He has a Twitter thread about the Premier League, Newcastle, Saudi Arabia situation and everything going on with it that still continues to linger. There's a lot of details about how this whole, what do they call it? The test, the O&D test. I mean, it's. Are you going to allow them into your league or not? Whatever policies you have, you should have been able to make this decision by now. Jacobs goes into detail about what could be hanging it up, et cetera, et cetera. Any listed director can fail the test if they provide false, misleading, or inaccurate information that can relate to the business plan for Newcastle that they have, their company's profile, the Premier League concerns over piracy. That's the one that's the issue, because one of the people that could be a director for Newcastle is also the acting media minister in Saudi Arabia. And you have the whole issue with no, there was never a complaint filed, or there was a complaint and we just didn't let our lawyers deal with it, or now we're checking things, now we're not checking. It's
got sent to the wrong email address.
That I don't even think that's a relevant thing. That's just stupid subterfuge. Like, you can't deny that at a minimum there was a blind eye turned towards a organization, an entity that was pirating games. The company that owned the rights to those games is based in a country that Saudi Arabia doesn't really care for. So they didn't really care that these games were being pirated. That's at a minimum. Whatever you want to get into in terms of how much did they help or how much of a blind eye did they turn, I don't care. They did. There's no way around that, because the World Trade Organization report is pretty clear. Mm-hmm. You know, the Premier League has fought against this for a while. Other leagues have fought against this for a while. Rights holders have fought against this for a while. They were not allowed to bring a legal suit in Saudi Arabia because lawyers would not take it. You can't deny those things. So that should be enough to say no. They haven't said no yet. They haven't said yes yet. They haven't said no yet. And it just keeps lingering. You would think that, especially with one person on this list that is part of this test, that is the acting media minister for Saudi Arabia, and there have been things that have been said that do not make sense with things that we know, that would be enough. You would think that would seal it. Well, it hasn't been done yet. And here's the other side of it. Nobody in England is talking about this aspect of it, and I don't understand why. Sam Karp at Sports Pro. We talked about BN blocking Serie A games in over 30, 40 countries where they have the rights to. They said, we're not going to televise it because you in Serie A have now formed an agreement with Saudi Arabia to play games in Saudi Arabia. We've told you we don't care for it. We've talked about the piracy issues. We're not going to show your product. Period. Now they have resumed showing it, but at a cost, because this is what BN did. Week-long blackout of the Serie A games in protest over Serie A's inaction over piracy and that relationship to play games in Saudi Arabia. So, new agreement with Serie A that BN said better reflects how the company was sold exclusive rights, only to see that status effectively removed because of the piracy. They didn't reveal the value of it, but Sports Pro understands that Serie A had to accept a major discount to end the blackout. BN spokesperson. The agreement reached regarding Serie A sets a major precedent reinforcing what BN and other international broadcasters have been saying for years. If rights holders don't tackle piracy, they'll only receive non-exclusive fees. I'm emphasizing a few words here because they're the same that the Premier League will be dealing with if they allow this takeover to happen. Newcastle will make £300 million in the sale. Their previous owner will, and Newcastle United should have money pumped into them. BN has paid over $1 billion in the last 5 years to have exclusive rights, which they haven't had because you've had this piracy issue. And the Premier League has fought against it, so BN's good. If the Premier League allows this deal to go down, then they are in the same situation that Serie A is in. And they will have to give money back to BN because BN will gladly take up that fight. It's not worth it. That is your reason to get out of this deal. And maybe they're just not paying attention to that side of it in England, but that has not been talked about in connection to this deal. Serie A just had to give back money because they formed a relationship with Saudi Arabia, and who knows, maybe Saudi Arabia gave them the money to pay it off. I don't know. But they had to basically accept that we sold an exclusive rights deal, and it's non-exclusive because of piracy. The same fight will happen in the Premier League if they allow this takeover to happen. Mm-hmm. That's why they should say no. That right there.
I don't know if the Premier League is thinking about it right now. I really don't. And then they're going to have to tackle
what
this.
What are they thinking about?
Everything else but.
What? There's nothing else for them to think about. Because this is not about, okay, they expect an owner to come in and spend more money than what the Newcastle has spent. That might raise the value of the league as a whole. The Premier League, the entity, needs to pay attention to perception because that's the part they control. You do this, your perception is shot because you've talked about piracy for a long time. Now you're letting the thieves join your family, which you can't do. And you've set this up to potentially create a problem with one of your partners who's given you a lot of money. It's just maddening. The Premier League is not going to see the benefit from this takeover to offset all of that. They won't. They can't. They need to say no. They have this test that is basically like a
standards and practices kind of thing.
No, it's beyond that. They make it out to be more than that. They make it out to be this big ethical thing and morality thing and all that. Well, here's your reason. No, you don't have somebody in who is the whatever acting minister of media or whatever that has not done anything about pirating your product. That's your reason to say no.
But if you're not even listening to the World Trade Organization, what gives you the faith that they're going to listen later or to something else?
Well, they are listening because they haven't agreed to the deal. They've never taken this long. So they're listening. That's not fair. They need to make the right decision. It's down to making the right decision. This that BN has done with Serie A should give you the exact reason. If whatever business side you think you're going to get out of this, Newcastle becomes a top 6 club, and that you get another big club, and that makes the league more compelling, and it raises the rights fees down the road. Okay? There's a lot of speculation about that. They might still stink. Who knows? But it doesn't offset ruining a business relationship with a partner and probably having to give them money back or take less money in the future from them and probably not have them come back to you at any kind of a number you want because of allowing this. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Beyond Amnesty International, which is a very valid complaint, beyond all of the other elements to this, there is no worthwhile reason to allow this to happen. They need to say no.
no question. And they've needed to say no from the absolute beginning. And I'm just, I'm waiting for them to say no and wondering why they're not.
I'm going to correct one thing. They couldn't
Sure.
say no from the absolute beginning because the World Trade Organization report wasn't done yet. They would have then said no about reasons that they would have had to look themselves in the mirror about some of the other owners in the league. That's not something they could do. They could have said no once the World Trade Organization report was given to them. They could have said no after the report was made public and brought out into the media. And now they could say no again. But I don't think they could say no at the beginning, because you couldn't, if you were the Premier League, with some of the owners that are in the league, some of the directors that are in the league, say no on moral grounds. I don't think you had that ability.
Yeah, but once the WTO comes in here and Amnesty International come in and they wave their hands and sit there and go, see here, look, that should have been all the evidence that you needed. Boom, end of story, got to go, and we'll talk to the Clear TV guy and get 50 million pounds more.
Should have been. We'll see. We'll see where this goes. But Ben Jacobs, he's Jacobs Ben on Twitter, if you want to go through this thread for a little more detail on it. You have not had any answer yet. You've not had any public answer yet. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You could, and Jacobs kind of insinuates this, you could have had a denial and now an appeal is ongoing, and that could be part of this hang-up before it's made public. But right now, you have not had a public answer to anything yet. And Steve Bruce has said, look, this is kind of hanging over our head, and we need to know what we're going to do. And they do. They absolutely do. But they shouldn't go forward with this takeover.
Now officially following Ben Jacobs on Twitter.
Well, there you go. That's what I try to do, is make sure more people get followed on Twitter, because that's the important element.
And so there we go. What else is on your mind?
Bouncing around today, before we get into the tweets and Twitch. College soccer, keep an eye on everything going on. Paul Kennedy at Soccer America has a good rundown across the levels. You've only had 2 D1 men's programs eliminated. You will be adding one. Chicago State is adding men's soccer in place of baseball. So you're going to lose one D1 program. People were worried more would be lost. So far, that hasn't happened. D2 games, the number of games D2 teams can play has been cut. You are seeing cuts to regular season, cuts to postseason, regionalizing or eliminating travel. I think all that's going to continue. You've got D3 schools. Williams is one, and Williams has been a top program on the soccer side. Women's national champions at D3 in 2015, 2017, 2018. They are not playing fall sports. All fall sports, not happening. Other D3 schools have also said the same. So be on the lookout for what happens with smaller colleges. I think it's all very, very fluid in terms of what the college soccer season looks like. Over to Europe. UEFA, Azerbaijan is looking to hire a new manager, and it might be Roy Keane, somebody that you might have heard of. You might have seen him kick somebody's knee backwards. That was one. You've seen him be a feisty pundit, I think is the word that I've seen for him. He's got managerial experience. He won the championship with Sunderland. He's managed at Ipswich Town. He's been the number 2 with the Republic of Ireland and with Aston Villa. He managed at Nottingham Forest as well, or coached at Nottingham Forest. He's been talking about wanting to get back into it. Reportedly, they've thrown some pretty good money at him. I don't know what the level of Azerbaijan is, but I do know that they've got some money to spend, and Roy Keane would get them some attention. So we'll see if he takes that. A club that doesn't have some money to spend is Hamburg. So Hamburg did not get promoted back into the Bundesliga. Disaster on the pitch, and people are calling it a disaster off the pitch. The 2 biggest sponsors at the club have backed out of deals. Emirates, the airline, has used a clause to get out. They've been there since 2006. 1.5 million euro a year to be on the front of the shirt. Another investor, wealthy Hamburg shareholder, Klaus Michael Kuhn, he has pulled out. You might get both of them back, but you're going to get them back at less money. This is what you see with a big club. Hamburg's a big club, but this is what happens when they get dropped to the second division for an extended period of time. The people who bought into them or sponsored them at a big club level, well, when you're no longer a big club for an extended period of time, they walk away. And that's what's happening. So keep an eye on their financial future. We're going to hear more things like that. I mean, if Under Armour's trying to get out of a deal with UCLA and other schools, you're going to see sponsors try to get out of deals right now, whether it's equipment, whether it's front of the shirt, whether it's just a in-stadium sponsor. You're going to see people try to get out of deals because they're hurting for money. And if there's any kind of valid reason to get out, they're going to try to get out. So this is going to happen more. In Italy, we've got a couple updates. Brescia has reportedly, finally, after talking about this for about a month, they have exercised their right to terminate the contract of Mario Balotelli. That's what's being reported. Reportedly, he wasn't allowed to come back and train. I don't know where it stands. We'll keep an eye on it. He might be available on a free. One club that I don't think they're going to look at him, but they're looking at some other guys, is Benevento, who's going back up into Serie A. They're rumored to be pushing for Andre Schürrle. Be an interesting signing.
Yeah.
Be intriguing. And Juve is bringing back a legend, Andrea Pirlo, coming back to coach their U23s. Be interested to see Pirlo as a coach. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. Mentioned the game today. BN's got it. Atletico Madrid, Barcelona. Barca's got to win this to keep putting pressure on Real Madrid. Barca's a mess. We talked about it a lot last night on the PM edition. They do have to feel pretty good coming into this one because Atleti, the last time they beat Barcelona in the league, 2010, 19 matches ago. The last time they won in Barcelona, 2006, 39 matches ago. If Barca loses this one,
oof,
Setien might be gone before the day's out.
Yeah, it would be like Lane Kiffin on the tarmac with Setien.
Well, at least they're not flying. He'd just be Lane Kiffin like being
locked
lot. Out of the dressing room after the game.
Yeah, Barca minus 125 to win. Atleti is plus 374.
As bad as Barca has been, as much turmoil as Barca's in, I might be looking at Atleti. Speaking of Barca, you've got a talented young player coming through the academy. You would think, getting ready to sign a contract with Barcelona. He's been able to sign a contract when he turned 16 in April. Mark Gerardo. No, he's going to go to Manchester United. He's let his contract on the youth side run down, and he's going to head over to Manchester United. Barca offered him a 3-year deal, would have been worth €100,000 annually. 200,000 euro bonus if he made his debut for the B team. Gerardo has said, no, I'm going to go to England, and all United has to pay is development rights because he's out of contract. It's another one that, okay, if Manchester United's looking to sign the guy, you would think he's pretty good. Yeah. What is Barca doing? They don't know. The FA, English Football Association, cutting positions. 124 positions will be cut as a result of the financial impact of the pandemic. 42 were already vacant, but they're going to remove 82 roles from the organization. Looking for about £300 million in losses because of all this. Because of FA Cup, because of no games being played, national team, all of it. It's a big loss for them. Steve McLaren's a guy who used to work for them that we have not seen for a while. He might be headed to Dundee United. Dundee United has made contact with him about becoming their new manager. And there's some reports out of Scotland about Alfredo Morelos. Reportedly was offered a deal from super rich Qatari side Al Duhail. A number of clubs have been looking to get him. Reportedly, Bordeaux and Dynamo Kiev have been turned down already. Al Duhail is trying to bolster their squad. Another player they're linked to is David Silva, who has been linked to coming to MLS after his time at Manchester City's done when Champions League is over. We will see. They are throwing money around like crazy. A 23-year-old who's doing well in Scotland probably should not go to super rich Qatari side Al Duhail. Just saying. If he wants to have a future at whatever level he can find, that's probably not it. David Silva, different conversation.
Yes.
Maybe he wants a big fat check as a retirement fund. I don't know.
Big fat check.
Another
Hashtag
one,
big fat check.
Yeah, another one talking about changes coming forward and something England should do. England in the FA Cup, they still do replays. They play another match if there's a draw at the end of regulation time. France, no extra time in the French Cup. They're going the other way. Get rid of the stupid replays. You don't have the ability to do them next year with the calendar, period. You don't need more games played in this. I understand it's great if the team forces a draw and they get a second game and they get some of the gate revenue. Yeah, find another way to get them some of that money because you don't need to play more games. Everybody hates it. It's an outdated thing. Get rid of it. France is going to no extra time. It goes to penalties straight away. The final could have extra time. That's it. That's the direction you need to go for these cup games. That. I think it would promote a better game. I think it would create a better game. Last one, a club we've talked about a good bit in Portugal, Benfica. They lost again. They lost 2-0 to Maritimo yesterday.
Wow.
Now, this gets good. So, according to the club's president, Luis Felipe Vieira, according to him, the manager, Bruno Lage, offered his resignation after the loss. This is from Vieira. He quoted Lage as saying, "At the moment, the situation is untenable because it seems that everyone wants me to leave. From tomorrow, today, I won't be Benfica's coach anymore." Now, Vieira didn't take any questions. He didn't say he accepted the resignation. He said that and he left. Well, the manager gave a post-match interview. He didn't mention resigning. So, I don't know what's going on at Benfica.
Which is it?
I don't know. They've only won 1 of 5 since coming back. They've lost back-to-back games now, and they're 6 points behind Porto at the top of the table. They were at the top of the table when they came back. 1 of 5. 1, 2, and 2 in those 5 games. And maybe they have a manager, maybe they don't. Who knows? Good times in Portugal.
Wow. And the record, we mentioned it on SDH PM last night, the record, one of the papers in Portugal, is saying that they are talking to Mauricio Pochettino to be the manager of Benfica. You want that madness?
Take that. No.
You want that madness?
No, you don't. That's a giant step down for him. No, he's not going to take that. That's just trying to get a name in the paper.
Late last night in Costa Rica, Saprissa won 1-0. They won 3-0 in total. So they are now your champion of champions. Goal in the 68th, made the third goal on the board. But there was a nasty TV moment in the first half where Barantes of Saprissa dislocated a finger, and an FUTV got the close-up of it. And so you see a finger going a direction it's not supposed to on live television. That was not good. No, it was not pleasant. So Saprissa is your champion of champions. No super grand finale is needed after winning 1-0 last night, 3-0 on the aggregates.
That's not good. On Twitch, Ropes is asking what bobbleheads I have behind me. As Chris Ashley said, one is John Harkes.
Yes.
That is from the Greenville Triumph. So there's Harksey as a bobblehead. And the other one is the former mascot of the Atlanta Silverbacks, not Socrates, Socrates, which is one of the great mascot names. Good mascot, actually. Worked really well in the stadium. The kids loved Socrates. So that's my bobbleheads. I need more bobbleheads. That's the only 2 I have from a soccer perspective.
We got to work on that for you. We got to have
I need more soccer
there
bobbleheads.
On the Twitters.
What do we have on the Twitters?
And Arjen Robben has a new home, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's been bouncing around for a minute. Groningen, he's going back to the club that he started at. The report is that Groningen put together a video package with Michael Jordan and The Last Dance to motivate Robin to come back. Pretty cool. If that's what they did to pull that off, that's pretty cool.
Yep. Tafka says, if and when we beat Cincinnati, you can use in the 92.9 postgame show, Fake Empire, Graceless, I Should Live in Salt, Nobody Else Will Be There, and the system only dreams in darkness. The list is long.
You could have just said he recommended something. And
5 tunes from the National.
Okay.
Bobby and Johnson got his official goodbye from Borussia Mönchengladbach about an hour ago on Twitter.
Yes.
So Tafka is asking, where's he heading? Best guess.
Well, Cincinnati's the one who's been linked to him before, so that would be my best guess.
Ricky Ricardo, with Gallagher returning to Atlanta, can you summarize his time at Aberdeen and what you see as a realistic role for him with this team in 2020?
I think he's an MLS-level player. I think role will be utility off the bench. I think he's one of those guys who hasn't really settled into one position yet. Came into the team as a forward. He's turned himself into a right winger, wing back, and right back. And then at Aberdeen, he played a lot centrally. He played as a number 10. He plays a number 8. So if he can give you the ability in the 3-4-3 to play as a right wing back, as one of the 2 holding midfielders, as one of the 2 attacking midfielders, or as the forward, that's a good guy to have on the bench, because you want guys on your bench that can play a number of positions, because then it just gives you more flexibility in your tactics. He also gives you the ability to go to a 4-man backline if you want to put him at right back. You could go to a 4-3-3 and play him on the right wing. You've got a lot of flexibility. I think this year it's a utility spot off the bench, and he needs to grab any opportunity he gets and runs with it. I think he's got the ability to play at MLS. Quick feet, good nose for goal, good passer too. He delivers a good cross from the right side, good vision. I think the time at Aberdeen will have helped him. It's a more physical style over there. That's going to help him a little bit. But I want to see him now mix in with his first team, because it's been a while since we've seen him with Atlanta United. I want to see how he fits in with Frank de Boer's style of play. I think he's got the ability to. He's just got to make the most of the opportunity that might present itself.
Ricky Ricardo passes along the note that CAF have announced that January 2021's African Cup of Nations has been postponed to January of 2022 as well.
Yeah, not a surprise. There was some talk about that. You've just got issues with international windows, and obviously with the pandemic and all of that. When you start planning a major international event, you start to worry about it. So I don't know if they could have pulled it off in January. They've made the decision a little early, but probably with some consultation with FIFA and with other governing bodies about what things look like for them at that time. I mean, you would have a lot of problems with getting players cleared, because the league schedules next year are going to be more compressed, and it'd be tough. It'd be tough to pull it off. So I think they're best served to wait.
Caught up on the Twitters, blatant promos before we go.
Well, make a blatant promo.
Oh, I thought, well, you're the one who's next up at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, but the way you said that was like you had a blatant promo ready to go.
No. You're next in line. Once we're off the air, it's you and Mike with stoppage time on the 92.9 The Game Facebook page at 2 o'clock. So you guys can talk about food deadlines and expiration dates. And
no, we don't do that sort of thing.
All that kind of stuff. And so go to the Facebook page, and it's always fun to watch you two on stoppage time. And a new SDH 1v1 was posted this morning, and we'll retweet that as one before off the air. Poppy Miller, the voice of the Charleston Battery, and I caught up with one another and gave a bit of a championship preview for the 8 groups and the return to play for the USL Championship. So that was fun to catch up with her.
For we are the BBC News Service. No, not now.
Well, it's good news. Kind of. The BBC is reporting that the Premier League is offering women's football £1 million to help start the 2020-21 season. Richard Masters, the CEO of the Premier League, made this announcement. The investment would help cover coronavirus testing costs at the top end of the women's game for the Women's Super League. Masters also told the Department of Culture, Media, and Sports Select Committee that he would like the Premier League to take over the running of the Women's Super League. He said now isn't the right time, but he would like to work towards that. Remember, the Women's Super League did not come back. The financial implications were too much for them. There was no support from the FA, from the clubs. I mean, you're talking Chelsea, you're talking Manchester City, you're talking Manchester United, you're talking big clubs. They did not commit to spending the money to do this. Now the Premier League as a whole is putting $1 million towards it. That'll help get it off the ground. That'll help get the testing up and running to get the season started. You're still going to have large testing costs once the season starts. I think we're going to be testing for this in a sporting perspective for a good while. I don't think that's going to go away in August or September. So is this enough? Is it enough spread throughout the league? I don't know. I don't know if it is or not. I mean, I've seen the points all around. Like people have said, "Oh, they're giving £1 million like it's not a big deal." It's a big deal. It's a big deal. The Premier League has nothing to do with the Women's Super League. That's an FA property. I think just throwing this out and saying it's no big deal that's a little disingenuous. The Premier League, I think if they ran the Women's Super League, it'd probably be a better position because the FA doesn't run leagues, and they shouldn't be in this case. If the Football League doesn't do it, and there's some talk that the Football League, maybe with the lower divisions, maybe in some kind of partnership with the Premier League, might take over some aspect of this. But if the Premier League took over the Women's Super League, that's a good thing. And for the Premier League to commit dollars to the FA's Women's Super League, it's a good thing. Could they have committed more? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what their financials look like. They're losing a ton of money. So committing any dollars that you don't normally commit, hey, take it. It's a start. It's a step in the right direction. If every time there's a step in the right direction, it's no, it's not a big enough step. It's not a good enough step.
Step is a step.
There's no steps if that's the case.
Yeah.
So it's not their property. I think that's the point you have to understand here. The FA Women's Super League, that's what it is. The Premier League, outside of Premier League clubs being a part of it, have nothing to do with the Women's Super League. So for the Premier League as an entity to commit $1 million to something, cool. It's a step. And they say they want to take it over at some point. Good. Get through this. Get back on your feet. Understand what the projections look like going forward for both properties, and then do it, because the league would benefit from it. That would be a good step in the right direction.
Katie Wyatt at The Telegraph is now reporting Lucy Bronze and Alex Greenwood have agreed to join Manchester City ahead of the new WSL season.
Yeah, and you're starting to get reports about that because now you have at least a roadmap to getting back on the field. Nick's right, and Nick has a good point about this, and this is at the club level, not the league level. Women's teams, youth setups, it has nothing to do with financial fair play. The clubs have cash to commit more to it. That was why Liverpool's situation, I think, is it's a black eye for the club. Mm-hmm. People trying to say that oh, you shouldn't celebrate Jurgen Klopp and what they did. No, it's not that. It is a bad look for Liverpool Football Club to not treat their women's team better. It doesn't detract from the men's team. It is a bad look for the club, and they should absolutely be called out on it. Every club in the Premier League that is at that level has the resources to do better by the women's team that they have. They should. Yep. Well, I think what they should see, and the ratings for the NWSL, different country, different competition, should help to point you in the right direction that there is an audience, there is a market, there is a business out of this. I think this balance with women's sport has to change. In the past, it's been you have to put money to it because it's the right thing to do. You have to put money to it because it's an obligation to do. That only goes so far. It's a good business decision to put money to it because there is a market for it. People subscribing to CBS All Access because they want to watch the NWSL shows you that there is a value in the product. People watching that game on Saturday, there is a value in the product. It's not charity. It's not obligation. It's not trying to do the right thing. It is a good business decision, and it has to be run that way. The Premier League looking at potentially taking over the Women's Super League, they would say that, and they would do that because they feel like they can make money doing it. Good. That's how it's going to grow. That's how it's not just the bare minimum. It has to get past that. It will when it's treated as a business. Just like we pay for the men's game, just like we pay for subscriptions, just like we pay for newspapers, just like we pay for streaming services, just like we pay for tickets, it has to be the same on the women's side. That's how it grows. It is a product worthy of your money. It's not a product that you should feel obligated to watch. It's a product that has to earn your dollars or pounds or euros or whatever. And it can, and it does, and it is that good. And when you sample it, I think people understand that now. Run it more like a business, it'll survive. The previous 2 women's leagues in this country were not run like proper businesses. They failed. The one currently has had a lot of investment in it to get it to this point. Now, you've got a property during a pandemic that has brought in new sponsors and new dollars, and you're also fulfilling a TV contract with a new partner. That's running it like a good business, and that's going to set the NWSL up for a good, successful future. The Women's Super League needs to be doing the same. This Premier League $1 million check is a good step in the right direction.
I will continue to maintain that the NWSL is a growth product for any businessman or any business entity that wants to make an investment right now. I will continue to point as many hands as I have or access to toward the NWSL as a growth industry, and will continue to do that. You
have 2 hands, John.
Well, then I'll grab yours and I'll point yours too.
No, mine are already pointing. Don't be grabbing people's hands and pointing. That one threw me for a second. Matt Law at The Telegraph, as we go, is reporting that Chelsea are poised to make a bid for Kai Havertz. That had been bounced around a little bit. Leverkusen did not qualify for the Champions League. It sounds like Chelsea's going to go after Havertz and Ben Chilwell from Leicester City once the Premier League is done. Chelsea's throwing around crazy money right now, huh?
Yeah, well, they, had the transfer ban knocked down to one window, didn't spend any money. Frank Lampard trusted the youngins like Mason Mount, and now that they have money to spend, you're seeing Timo Werner coming in, you're seeing Ziyech, you've got Tammy Abraham. Next year Chelsea's going to be a fun watch, even if you're not a Chelsea fan.
Yep, they're going to be a team that's trying to push into that. Liverpool and maybe Manchester City, maybe not. Maybe it's Liverpool and Chelsea fighting it out at the top with lots of big stars, and that's your new big 2. We'll find out next year. Stoppage time today, 2 o'clock, facebook.com/929thegame. You can watch all your latest Atlanta United conversation as we get closer to MLS's back. Facebook.com/929thegame. We're back here tomorrow, 9 o'clock. We'll talk about NWSL today. We'll talk about any other news that pops up. And then more NWSL tomorrow as we get more live soccer. We got to talk about La Liga tomorrow, too. Barcelona and Atleti. That's going to be, I don't know, maybe Messi will walk away from another assistant and just kind of, diss him on TV. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Lots to talk about tomorrow. Lots to talk about on stoppage time. Thanks for hanging out. Mucha plata, y'all.
Houston Dash -118, OL Reign -139. Mucha plata, y'all.